On the 5th day of Podmas, my escort gave to me 5 failed friendships. Yeah, I had to take a pause because every time I get there, it stings because it's my truth. And before I get into all of that, welcome to Insequeer, the podcast presents the 12 Days of Podmas, and I am your Insequeer as fuck ass host, Chloe. And if you are here, it's because you're queer or you love my queer storytelling. So welcome and thank you for tuning in to this Podmas party. Something that I noticed is that as the numbers are getting smaller on the Podmas, the topics are getting a bit more serious and I'm getting a little bit more anxious about recording them. But I promised myself and I promised you all that I would power through it, and I'm learning to push record even when the passion isn't always there. But don't get it twisted, this is a very passionate episode, but on the other side of pushing when the passion is not there, it's also really hard to push when the passion is too much of a presence in the work. But I was trying to think of something like, when you think of the original song, 5 golden rings, and as a kid, I always thought that was so magical, and like 5 rings of gold, and when I think about my life and I think about what is of value to me and something that I would say in my life I want to be worth gold, that is my friendships and my relationships. And I am someone who is oftentimes way more closer to my friends than my nuclear family or my DNA born family. So my friends do become my family, and these 5 friendships that were failures or have, failures. They were failures. I failed them. They failed us, and here we are failing together. Separate, but at one point in my life, they were worth their weight in gold. So I think it's only right that I bring it to this platform and kind of talk about it. Well, I'm not going to get into the nitty gritty of the who said what, who did what, because honestly, a lot of the shit I do remember, and that's unnecessary for me to share. I will say, and I want to give a disclaimer, like Chloe Beck, have made some tremendous mistakes in friendships. I have made some tremendous mistakes in assuming what a friend should be, what they can be, what they can't be, what kind of friend they should accept in me. I've set expectations, standards, and boundaries without communicating. And I've also accepted a lot of things previously that I no longer accept and have not introduced current friends, failed friends, friends or foes to me. So I think there's a lot of things that I, Chloe Beck, will own. And that is the end of that disclaimer, because fuck that, this is my podcast. I'm telling you my story. And if any of these 5 friends, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, if any of these 5th friends want to come on here and give me their opt-in on my opinion on our relationship, they are more than welcome. But since they're failed and I'm blocked, that probably won't happen. So this is my story. I saw a post somewhere that says, don't be afraid to tell the truth about a person. If they wanted you to say kind things about them, they would have been kind to you. Verbatim, not so much, but I kind of nigger rigged that. But that was the first time I ever saw something that was so freeing, because a lot of times in my life and in some of my most traumatic stories, I've always felt that I had to keep them a secret out of respect for the other person, or out of respect for myself, because I didn't want people to think I was messy or rude or petty or whatever the word we use these days. But the truth is, my story is my story. My experience is my experience. And while I would do my best, I always say to respect your name, your date, your job, all that shit. I don't have to respect how I feel about what happened, because it happened to me, with me. It's my narrative. So when I was thinking about my top 5 friends, failed friends, let's get it very specific. When I thought about my top 5 failed friends, they pretty much fell in chronological order for my life. And I think I want to start from the beginning and work my way down to the most recent friendship failure that I think I'm experiencing. And then, you know how I do, we'll talk and I'll bore you, and then you'll rate, subscribe, share, and go have a conversation with one of your failed friends or friends on their way to failure. So my very first love, my very first friend, the very first person that I got to really claim as my own, that wasn't like a best friend, cousin, or a friend of the family, like someone that Chloe Beck went out here and forged a connection with, was someone who I met in 6th grade. My very first best friend was really, truly sixth grade. I struggle with the people before sixth grade because, like, of course you're my best friend because we share a Lunchable or we sit at a table or things like that. But like friends that didn't have parental guidance or school connection in that way, like a friend that I was like, hey, meet me here or let's go do that. My first seemingly adult-ish friend began in sixth grade. Me and this young man, we went to the same middle school, which was a gifted and talented middle school in Cleveland, Ohio, a Blue Ribbon Award-winning school. We instantly got close. Like I to this day don't remember who spoke to who said what, but like when I look over and think about us, it's just like we were always us. And the things that I loved about this young man is that he was a fucking talented. I have never seen someone like the shit that you all are paying people to do your cover art and graphic design. Like I saw a young man do that with a pencil and a notebook. Like I was always so drawn to he could draw. He could fucking draw. Like he still does draw. I stalked him, tried to reach out, wasn't successful. He is a talent. He is a P.D. Picasso, like not Pablo, but P.D. because he's black. P.D. Pablo, too much. And I was always envious because while I think I'm the Picasso of my palette in terms of the language that I use and the ways in which I speak, I've always wanted a more tangible, I can do it with my body, my hands, and my music. I always wanted a talent like that. So I was always very, not insecure and not envious, but like in awe of. Like there was just no other way to put it. Like there was no competition. It was just like, I was grateful to be with a friend who could draw me a picture of Whitney Houston if I asked. So like, great young man in that regard. Our friendship lasted up until what I would say is my freshman year of college. And about that, like we were super close, 6th grade, 7th grade, 8th grade. I got kicked out of the gifted and talented school because of my art. My art was talking too much and being a class clown. And they were like, that coupled with your terrible math grades, which I think we talked about that somewhere else. Get out. So I ended up going to a really urban black school back in my neighborhood, which I always felt like Mr. Clark, once he left that really good school and ended up at whatever the fuck the school was and leaned on me. So, or maybe I was more like Julia Stiles and Save the Last Dance, where I was like this and then I ended up over there, but whatever. But that did not hurt our friendship. We were still very much friends and hanging out and going to the movies and doing things like that. And then senior year, or not senior year, like going into high schools where I think our first like divot occurred. And it's because Chloe Beck, like I will own my love language is quality time. And my love people are my best friends or my friends. So like when we got into high schools where you really are experiencing the shit and you really are getting older, and I continued to go to schools that were not in my neighborhood because I didn't want to become a statistic. So I went to a school very far away, like 2 buses away from our ish neighborhood. And he went to a school for gifted people who had tangible art skills like him, singing skills. He went to a top school for people who were artsy. And it's so crazy. Like, as I say this, like I didn't realize just how much the break was starting to go, because like you usually, when you have new people in your face, like when I have new people in my face, I'm excited to be in that new space. Like while he was at school being an artist to the gods, like I was in ROTC, I was in marching band, I was in the robotics club, I was like a very popular kid. But in my school, it was cool to be a nerd. Like the better grades you had, the more fun you had, the cooler experiences you had, the more activities you got to be a part of. Like I was even on track for like a week. We're not gonna talk about that right here. No, we're not. So, and then like when he and I would get together, it worked. Like I did something that I'm very guilty of trying to do. I tried to connect him to some of my friends so we could all talk and hang and like, hey, these are my best friends from this pocket. You're my best friend from this pocket. Let's be pocket pals. Not successful, but it wasn't like a traumatic, not successful. It was like, it works if it works, but it usually doesn't work. And it just, I think something very specific happened, and I can share what happened. It's just like, what I will say is something that I learned because of that friendship is that I do not tolerate feeling like I am an afterthought, or what I used to call myself as a layover. because whatever, like he went to my high school graduation. I was invited to his. I invited him to prom. Like my family adored him every holiday. Like my grandfather, rest in peace, he retired from Chrysler, so we would get amusement park tickets every year. He would always be my plus one. All the holidays, Christmas, Thanksgiving, food. We were always together. And like I went out of my way to include him. And like his family didn't necessarily do a lot of that stuff, or looking back at it, maybe they did. And like his mom at the time didn't care for me for whatever reasons. I don't give a shit. But I didn't really go to his stuff because he was always at mine. So like in my mind, I'm like, oh, I guess he didn't have this stuff. Not assuming that maybe he was juggling multiple stuffs. But so we had a big tiff about college. Like he was very set on staying in our city and doing college that way. And like he felt that like he had found the perfect school for him that just happened to be in our same bubble. And I was one of those people like, bro, if we don't get out, you're going to be a statistic. If we don't get out, you're never going to leave. Like, I don't care what you say. There is no way that our city, because I was only looking at the city, and the circumstance, but I was like, there's no way our city, this shitty city, has the best school for what you want to go to. I was like, come, go, let's go. With your talent, with your skills, you can go anywhere. But he opted into staying in Cleveland, and then I went to so far away, 2 hours to Bowling Green, Ohio, which was the best time of my fucking life. I'll do it again. It was unfucking believable. Bowling Green was the best thing that ever happened to me. So like literally that first summer back, I was like, I know exactly who I want to spend my time with. I know exactly who I want to kick it with. I know exactly what this is going to be like. And I think I said it a few times. I am car challenged. Like I didn't have a license, but he had had his license, and like he was the plug in terms of like, oh, we about to go to Applebee's, we about to go do this, we about to go do that. And I was anticipating that he would be as equally as energetic and excited and wanting to spend time with me, who I came back from the big city of Bowling Green. And that just wasn't the case. Like I did not account for his life, his trajectory, his friend group, right? And I would like to say that I did account for it. Like I want to give myself some grace because I understood. And I think one of my biggest issues with how we fell apart was I did all of that to respect that I was not the queen bee of his best friend circle anymore. But he did this thing to me that it has since shaped how I maneuver a lot of my spaces. And I get irate about it. So super long story short, we had an experience where he was like, can we hang out? Are we going to hang out? Let's hang out. We're going to hang out. So he's like, yeah, come on, we'll hang out. So he comes over. Now, this is how old we were. This is at a time where we still had to use the AOL dial-up internet discs, like the little 30-day trial or 12-day trials. And I used to get them on by deck, like boop, boop, boop. He's like, yeah, let's hang out. Now it's hot summer. Like I'm like stuck in my apartment with my mom, like just like praying that this nigga says, let's go do anything outside of here. Like, it's not like I didn't have gas money. That wasn't the occasion or the case rather, but I was like, oh God, I get to hang out with my friend. We get to go talk. I get to tell him about all the things that I've experienced and how college life is. But when he came over, he's like, oh, can I use your computer? I was like, fucking sure. Like, let's use it. And he just sat on my computer on my AOL disc and Googled shit and like, or asked Jeeved shit or paper clipped that guy some shit and like went on MySpace because this is how old we were. And like, I just watched him like engage with my computer and I was like, hey, are we gonna go out at all? He's like, oh no, I can't. I got a party to go to with insert his other friend who despises me because I think she liked him and thought I liked him, or who gives a fuck why she didn't like me? She don't matter. But like, he liked her in terms of like, that was his new me. You know, he got him a Becky with the good hair and left this Beyonce, but you just lost one, buddy. And he was like, oh, well, no, I can't. I promised such and such we're going to hang out at insert this time. So I remember looking at my phone, my flip phone, and insert this time was a good 20 to 30 minutes away from the time that we had allocated to hang out. And in my mind, I internalized that as like, you didn't come to hang out with me. You came to like check this off your list and like, or I'm like the opening act to like what you're really interested in. And like, not only am I really not the opening act, like I'm the bellhop. My computer is the opening act here, buddy. Like you here on my computer and like have real plans to which I am not invited, which great. But in my mind, I'm like, if you had such a concrete kick it in queue, you had no intentions of really spending time with me. So like, why would you come over here and just use me? So, you know, because I didn't have the language, because of my insecurity, because I'm like heartbroken by like the I didn't even have the language to call out the rudeness or the inconsiderateness or the hurt that this experience has caused me. But like I'm looking in my brain and I can see him with the mouse like zoomed in on my computer. But, you know, I don't ever remember really having a conversation. Like, I don't remember saying, oh, this is fucked up. I'm good on you. I'm 86 and that shit. And then I like went back to college, and like after that, I made it my business not to come home for summers. Like, I just didn't come home for summers because college had gotten cooler. I had gotten cooler in college. I had gone Greek. I had found a best friend, maybe. Like, I had done all this shit, and it was just like, you know what? That's done. But then I did something. This is where I own my shit. I did something that I shouldn't have done, or I did something that like I should have knew better. Like in those 3 years after that first summer away from when I came home to hang out, I got so popular and so busy and such a good concrete new set of people that I didn't check back in. I also thought that we were so close that there would be no love lost and we could have a conversation. And like, now that I do have the language and I can kind of articulate what this experience has felt like to me, when I moved home from college, like he was the first person I reached out to. Actually, I had reached out to his mom via Facebook because she was so excited to see that I had left Cleveland and that I was doing something, that I did get a degree. I guess she respected me a little bit more then. But like, and then I had got his number from like a friend that I had saw on the bus. Like I was on the bus, like still not driving, whole bachelor's degree, still not a car consumer. And I reached out and I was like, hey, you know, you are so important to me, blah, 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 blah. I just want you to know that when this thing happened to me, this is how it made me feel. And like, I shut down and like, I since disappeared, but like, I'm back and I would love to try to, I wasn't even trying. I was like, I would love to see you and hope that you know, I didn't even think we were not friends, but like something to the effect of like, I would like us to rekindle. And he hit me with the, oh, I knew that's what it was. And I don't need that in my life right now. Cold, nothing else. And I'm still shocked by it because and now I can only infer that it was shitty on his end. While I think he did a shitty thing, and while he didn't take any ownership for that, like he saw no problem in how he used me in my AOL disc, and didn't even reach out for the rest of that summer. Like, while I see that narrative part of it, I also didn't see what the fuck could have happened in those 4 years of his life. Like whatever, like looking back at it now, the internet is at your literal fingertips. Like, the literal slight was not a slight, but it was more so me not being able to say like, you're my friend, I'm here for you, like I really want to spend time with you, but you were opting into your cooler, we drink OE40s posse. And he that's where I let it end, because I still didn't have enough courage, and I was very insecure about advocating for myself and fighting with him about it, because it was also one of those things where I had to acknowledge I don't know anything about him. He don't know shit about me, and apparently he don't want to. So that's where that goes. Here I am blocked on Instagram. Here I am excommunicated to nothing. I will say the only time I've reached out to him since then is something that we shared, which I didn't get to talk about, is that he was my movie buddy. Like, we loved horror films. We loved the Spice Girls. We loved like gay shit that we should have knew was gay, but like horror films was our shit. And the minute that they released that they were going to drop the Halloween movie with Jamie Lee Curtis that dropped this last October, I DM'd him the photo art. Like, just, I DM'd him her post, to which I was blocked. And I was like, oh, okay, you mad. A lot of people in my life have suspected a lot of things. Like, a lot of people thought we were dating, thought that we were a thing, thought that he liked me, thought that I liked him. And I think all of those are true. We were friend dating. We did not date, did not touch, did not do any of the things. Like, he thought I was fat and gross. I thought he was gay. And I mean, some of those things could still be the narrative depending on who you ask and what the scale says. But I don't have closure with that, because he, outside of him saying, yeah, I know that's what happened, and that's where it was. And I'm like, 10 years later, after all of this, like, people in your life have died, people in my life have died. Like, you still don't want to have any piece of the past, and maybe some people don't. So What I will say about that is that relationship taught me to be vocal about when things don't feel right and why they don't feel right. And also to remember that while you're out here living your best life, other people are living theirs. And if you don't ever check in or pop in to see what that best life looks like, you can't be always assuming that people are going to be prepared on the other side of your breakthrough. And I think that trend will come up again in another one or two of my friendships. But that one for him was what I really learned. And I also learned to hear people when they say what they say. Like, I imagine his other group of friends was like, yeah, bro, stay here. You're going to do great here. That school is great here. And I'm like, no, nigga, what the fuck you done? We got to get out of here. This shit ain't safe. So just respecting what he wanted to do in his journey, and also respecting that he don't owe me an explanation. The same way I didn't owe him an explanation when he did what he did, even though I think he knew what he did. And that's where I always struggle. I always struggle because I feel like you fuckers know when you be doing fuck shit. Why I gotta tell you you doing fuck shit? Do you see me? I see you looking like two big ass red flags. But I have to respect that he was a season. Like, I'm going to keep referencing Tyler Perry and Medea. Medea talks about it. She says, people are like a tree. You have some that are leaves. They over here, you got drinks. Oh, they got drinks over there. Oh, you got party over here. No, there's party over there. And you have some people who are a little bit more sturdier than that. You have people who are branches, firm. They're firm until you put your 400-pound body on the wrong piece of it and it breaks. And then Medea talks about how, at the root of a really strong tree, if Chloe Beck is that blue spruce tree that she loves, at the root of that, there's about 3 or 4 good roots. You don't have to see them. You don't have to know them, but they're there supporting you. And I thought that that's what the case was, but I also have to acknowledge that just the way that my physical weight gained, the weight and the responsibility of being my friend shifted, and it might have been just too much for him to bear. So that is one branch that I will gladly let break, and I wish him well. And when I tell you, like, I would love to tag him and let you see his artwork, and so you can go buy some of his shit, because I will never be a hater on your come up. He's a genius. I hope you know him one day. I want to get to a place where I am using my palette of Picasso so I can pay him to put something on my wall. So, that ship sank like the Titanic. Moving on to the next voyage, if you will. Speaking of how I talked about, I had met a whole group of people in my high school and, XYZ, and I started to get close with other people. That is no truer than this next person. Talk about odd couple, odd bunch pairing, but someone who was so important. I found out recently, maybe 6 months ago, how important she really was to me and her family was to me when I found out that her mother had passed away at a very pivotal time of our break. And that's the sting. I think this might be the stingiest sting of a friendship. So, like I said, I was in ROTC, I was in marching band, I was kicking it on, I lived on the east side of Cleveland, and my school was on the west side of Cleveland, to which I met this young lady. And to be honest, she is a white woman, blonde hair, hazily eyes, freckles, white, cute girl, white girl, so cool. She's the one who taught me the rhythm to Let It Burn by Usher. If it wasn't for her, this is how music used to work. If you didn't hear it, I was just looking at the lyrics and she's like, no, you haven't heard it yet? Didn't hear it yet? Because songs back then came on the radio or you bought them. There was no pirating, YouTubing that strong. You was burning CDs, sure, which she actually burnt me a copy with that dumbass song on it. But I remember that we were walking and I was like, it's gonna burn. She's like, she slowed it down for me. So shout out to her for teaching me some Black culture. Okay, but anyway, to that point, we were in a lot of the same classes in high school. We were in ROTC together. We were officers together. We were in marching band together. I played bass drum. She played trumpet. And we were friends. It just clicked. And I'm so grateful for her. And while I don't have a whole lot to share, I will say the first wedding I ever went to in my entire life was her wedding, to which she is still happily married and has 2 to 3 children, I believe. But I remember crying and sobbing at her wedding because I was losing her because she was marrying someone in the military. And she's another person. See, I trend. She's another person who is 10 times more scholastically astute than I was at the time. Someone who had grades way better than mine at the time. and someone who I was like, she should be going to UCLA, Stanford, Harvard, Howard, anywhere. But she chose marriage. And I was so distraught by it because two things. I was distraught because when you date a person in the military and they're stationed in what the fuck, you go. So I was instantly losing a hometown homie. And then B, she opted into marriage instead of college. Like, I just saw college for her. I saw her being the leader of her life in a way that she would have murdered. PhD, just great. But like, once again, she said, this is what I want. And my selfishness, my inability to really acknowledge, A, I'm queer. Still didn't know at the time. B, quality time is your love language. And at the time, technology had not done any of the shit that it's doing now. While I still think Zooms and FaceTimes will never compare to me being able to throw popcorn at you sitting on your couch. We really weren't there in terms of technology when we were graduating. We graduated high school in 2005. So like 2005 was, I told you I was the first, well, I didn't tell you, but I was the first class of college students to get Facebook back when you had to have an ID to get Facebook. So like a college ID or a college email address to get Facebook. So technology did not tell me at the time. Even phones, like back then you were still paying 10 cents a text. So communication was very much, you needed to have the effort to go be in person. And we fell apart. But the crazy thing is like we didn't fall apart then. Because we did get in at the time when those things were happening, Facebook and things like that. Like while we didn't call and text, because now I have transitioned, I've pivoted to my college friends now, and like hard body pivoted. And she probably was one of the people that I was spending a whole bunch of time with when I could have been engaging with a friend who just used me for my AOL disc. So I also have a trend of stepping off of branches and hopping on to the next, because they're more rooted at the time. But we didn't talk because now I'm in college and now she's married. Like she's married, and I think her husband was stationed in like Tokyo or like I don't even know time zones now in the US of A. So I really my brain couldn't fathom, / we didn't have the technology, / you really wasn't making international calls in 2005 for free. So that is what broke us, but it didn't feel like a break. So fast forward, and now this is the one where I say this young lady was such a good friend for me. Not only did she teach me Usher's Let It Burn, but I spent so much time at her mom's house with her and her 3 little brothers. They loved me. And her mom would buy me stupid shit that I loved, like the first person to ever buy me those smiley potato faces, them shits. If you never had them smiley potato faces, they do not sponsor this video, but I sponsor the fuck out of them. They're little crispy little smiley faces, potatoes. They get crispy on the outside like a good French fry, but when you bite in, it's like the best fucking all-you-can-eat mashed potato on the inside. She bought me a bag. Also, me and that friend on my 18th birthday, like the week of my 18th birthday, we went roller skating, to which I broke my leg in 3 places, which will definitely come up as an episode. Might even show up on one of these Podmas episodes about some of my insecurities around being physical. And I broke my ankle on another side of town. And I was just old enough to and this is how scarcity and insecurity work, and financial insecurity, and me knowing my place as a Black child of Black single parents of low SES. All I could think of, my leg is now officially broken in 3 places. And the only thing I could think of is that we cannot afford to pay for the ambulance to take me anywhere over here, / my mom doesn't have a car, so I can't even go to a hospital here. Like if I need surgery here or something like that here, this is so far out of my neighborhood, out of the way. I put all of my energy on making sure that my family could get to me than I did the fact that my leg is hanging off. So much so that the first thing I did as an 18-year-old adult was I signed a waiver saying I do not want to take an ambulance, and to which I called my mother and I was like, hey, this happened. And she's like, I don't have a way to get to you. But you know who had a way to get to me? Tabitha's mother. Tabitha's mother, this beautiful woman, she picked me up. She picked me up at the skating ring. They got me into her minivan. She dropped Tabitha off to go stay with her little brothers. Oh, I just said her name. Her name is Tabitha. I'm sorry. I'm not sorry, because this is a friend that I fucked up. She dropped her off to take care of her little brothers, and she drove me all the way all the way to the ghetto. This white woman, this hippie white woman who's so sweet, so kind, so cool. She dropped me all the way off in my hometown, that's what it felt like. It felt like a different world. She dropped me off, sat with me in the emergency room until my grandmother, my cousin, and then the last person in the door being my mom, who looked like she had just got reamed a new one about how she should have included them or did something. And just like that, being an angel, she just disappeared. And so coming back full circle, now I'm officially an adult. I'm officially already living in New York City. I was already working at my current position because during the height of my depression, I was very vocal on social media being Facebook, about like, well, whatever the fuck the woe is me is, right? This had to be 16, 17. And this is with the height of where things were really I could not see light at that time. And I think I was very much spewing that on Facebook, to which she messaged me and she was like, you know, there's so much now this is all lightly remember, but I'm going to get the point. Something to the effect of, you know, there's so much going on. You need to be positive. Like, just try to be positive. Like, and I was like, I don't see a reason to be positive. Like, don't stop me from being positive. And that was one of my insecurities about being silenced. And I was like, there's no way she could understand what I'm going through. Her life, look at her, she's married, she has a kid, she's a family. I'm the one who's so alone and so broken and so beat up and no one loves me and I'm fat and no girl will date me. And I was bringing that energy to the conversation, to which, and I think she said, well, I just can't, well, I don't have to follow this or whatever. And she unfollowed me. And one of her good friends who like was in, like, she wasn't in the throuple of our friendship, but like, if Tabitha's my good friend, Tabitha had a good friend before me. So Tabitha would be in the middle of this other person. Now, me and this other person have connected on social media. We're always in each other's DMs. We're laughing. She sent me plants. Like, we are like, wow. Like, we didn't beef, but of course there was some competition for Tabitha's time. But like, I was always say, you know, like, I said something to the effect of like, I know you still engaged with both of us and I just wish her well. And like, I hope she's okay. To which the girl said, you know, I really work well to like be separate or whatever, but she didn't say much. And that's when she didn't really say much, that kind of sparked me to kind of get my private eye investigator lens on. And I went to, I just shot my shot at, a few years had passed. Like, this was literally 2020. So whatever happened, it was 2016, 2017. I friended her in 2020. And I friended her on Facebook and she accepted. And I didn't rush to comment or anything. I just kind of let it sit. I was like, I don't want to bombard this. I want to just, once again, I didn't have all the facts. I didn't know what was going on. So I didn't really want to push it. But she's a mom. She has 3 kids. She's still married. She's since gotten her degree and I'm so proud of her for that. And I didn't see a whole much to be alarmed about, like nothing like really jutted out at me until it slapped me in my face. She had reposted one of her posts from like a year ago. So that would have made it like 2019. And she posted that her mother passed away from cancer. And so that was a year ago. I was like, oh my gosh, she just died. Like, what the fuck? Like, and then of course I had to do a deep dig. I dug deeper to find more timeline about the situation. And in true, I'm a fucking fuck. I'm when you are in your own shit, you see nothing else, right? So of course I get to the root of when her mother passed away, and her mother passed away around the exact same time she was telling me that I should be positive. Here I am. While my trauma is my trauma, my hurt was my hurt. When I look back and I think about that, and I think about what a role they all played and how supportive she has always been, her mom has always been. I was so engulfed in my own trauma and my own bullshit that I didn't even realize that she was reaching out to me to probably tell herself the same thing, to be positive, or to realize that life could be so much worse. And like, for her to take that energy when the love of her life, because she posts about her mom every day, as she should, because her mom was, if I could be any type of mom, I would like to be like her mom. Her mom was great. Her mom was not a Karen, not a Becky. Her mom was fucking cool. Her mom was funny, fun, loving, had space for everybody. Her mom was so great. Her mom took care of me. Her mom carried me all the way to the ghetto as a white woman in the middle of the night, and gracefully just disappeared and loved me so much that she made sure I got to the wedding and did all these things. And at a time when my friend is losing the love of her life and part of my life, she's reaching out to me to remind me of something that I should have just taken a minute to take a deep breath and understand and ask and share dialogue. But because so much time had passed, I thought that she was talking to 17-year-old Chloe, not realizing what 29, 28-year-old Chloe was going through. But also 28-year-old selfish Chloe had no idea or didn't even think, couldn't fathom that this young lady could also be going through something too. And every chance I get, and that's not true, every chance where I feel like it's appropriate, I write on her post about her mom, and I write her, and one day I'm going to, very soon, because COVID in 2020 and even losing her mom before ever being an adult and being able to say thank you. Like, I thought I'd be 33 going to her house and finally getting to have a drink with her, because she was so fucking cool. If you want to drink with, smoke with, talk about, listen to music to, it would have been her mom. I just always thought that like so many of these roots would just always be there. But you know, unfortunately, roots also pass away. So while I don't think Tabitha was a branch, I think that I was a branch to her at a time when I should have been a root, because she did the work. And while I still think our lives are so vastly different, I do think that I owe her this conversation. And so sliding, and ironically enough, while I was having that moment where she blocked me and I blocked her back in 2016, 17, these next two friends, I will join them together because they were a dynamic force at a specific time, but they get their own moment. Two people I met at work. I met here at this job. I met them, one of which who was just always so sweet and fun and kind, and she used to always love to touch my face and hold my face and be my buddy, but like she became collateral damage / she maneuvered one of my big breakups, which happened to happen at a place where I work. She maneuvered it in a way that made me feel as though we were friends when convenient, or that almost like, you ever had an experience where like someone is like, you know, I fuck with you, but for the sake of the situation, I gotta fuck with this, or I gotta ride with that, or I gotta do whatever. That's what our friendship kind of felt like. Like, I always felt that like once we got out of our toxic circle of where we were, how we met, we could have a beautiful blooming friendship on the outside of it. But insecurity, just accepting scraps, did not demand that you show up for me here. Show me that you're my friend when it sucks. To which I think she did her best, but I also think at some point I had to acknowledge, and I still have to acknowledge, that she also had to do what made her time and her life and her work and her balance work for her. But it was just unfortunate, because up until the very end, and the end being me not being invited or uninvited to her wedding, the end being we don't talk, the end being she did something and was a part of something that saved my life, and then at a time where the thing that she did helped create this confidence for me to tell her finally how I was feeling about our relationship, and that was the straw that broke the camel's back, ironically enough. And I liked what our future could have been. I liked where we could have headed. I liked her. I thought she was cool. I thought she was funny. I thought she was just awkward enough for me to be like, oh, you're so awkward, I love you. And while I can't really talk a lot about the ins and the outs, I will say she was a part of something that jump-started the love that I have for myself, which jump-started me getting weight loss surgery, which jump-started me staying in therapy, which jump-started me learning to advocate for what I want. And ironically enough, she was a part of the offspringing or offboarding of that. But it seems like that is exactly the thing that she wasn't prepared for me to do in relation to her. And I keep alluding to this thing. She and friend number 4 threw me an amazing, and when I say amazing, I mean probably, I can remember 3 parties in my entire life that were parties. One when I was 6, and I just remember sitting on the side watching everybody else enjoy it because I'm an observer. One by an ex who threw me a party, and just great. Like, it was so overwhelming how good it was, and it was just, she did great. And it's for the person who she is and the ways in which our relationship ended and the ways in which I saw her be the not so nice side, I still think that she went above and beyond for who she turned out to be in my life for that party. And then once again, that was a party that I didn't really feel like it was mine because it was coupled in, like, when we were in that group of people, everybody, if there was a reason to drink, it was a party. So we had been doing so many, like, just throwing, you could have threw, Chloe had a hysterectomy, let's take shots, or I stubbed my toe, kegger. Like, so we're partying so much that it didn't even, my birthday didn't feel like a standout because it was just in a whirlwind of us all being young and dumb and drinks being $2 on tap. Like, so, but it was a great party. It was some great cutouts that she got me and did some amazing things for me, to which I had to abandon in Georgia, which damn it. But anyway, I digress. So the only party that I remember being completely off guarded by, completely shocked by, completely in awe of how many people showed up for me, especially at a time where I was just telling Tabitha that no one loves me, no one likes me, no one cares about me, I am nothing, this place despises me. They threw me a 30th birthday party. This friend and friend number 4 threw me a 30th birthday party, and while I suspect it's because I shared something with them, I don't want to diminish it, because on my 30th birthday, I tried to ease in and out of 30. Me and my sorority sister went to Colorado. I came back because, like, I am very insecure about my social circle where I work, because, like I said, that other friend who had to maneuver the space, a lot of people maneuvered the space around me as if they do, like, I love you in secret. Like, it's like the Underground Railroad of I actually like Chloe. So, like, also for those of you who never grew up with roaches or don't have this reference, like, when you turn off the kitchen light, roaches come out to play. So I often felt like no one would show up for me in person because I was having so many backdoor, no homo, I was having so many backdoor or on the side or hush hush community connections. But when in public, when out loud, when around people who had more social capital than me, or people who people played their parts, they played their roles, and I always felt like I got the quiet version. So, like, it was the culture for where I worked that we all, if it was your birthday, we all got together, went out to drink. And I was so scared to put one of those together because I was like, no one will show, and it will really solidify that no one fucks with me. And I don't think my mental capacity could handle that type of blow. So I had a few people, oh, what you doing for your birthday? What you doing for your birthday? I was like, I'm going out of town, so don't even worry about it. I was so, going out of town, don't worry about it. So I slid into February 3rd of that year, and it was great. I did all sorts of things I shouldn't have did in Colorado, which I could live there, I truly think. And then I came back and I was like, made it. We're going to be okay. It's not a problem. Me and another person who could have potentially not made it to the top 5 fails, but maybe the top 15 fails. We went out and got our nails done. And like, me and that person went out and got our nails done. And then my friend 3 and friend 4 was like, hey, let's meet at our favorite bar. Because we had a bar that we fucked with called Mama's Bar in New York. It's like Avenue B. Love Mama's Bar. Fuck it up in Mama's Bar. Like, mama. And I think one of them even picked me up. And I was like, all right. So, like, I'm talking, like, I had just got my haircut. I was with my locks. I had just got my first undercut. So I'm geeked about it. I got on a regular big lady shirt, like nothing fancy, because I'm just going out to drinks with I was always the 5th, like, because both of them had partners, and to which I love both of their partners. And it would be me. And, like, I did not feel like a wheel because I was comfortable in the setting. So, like, and I'm a regular at this bar. So, like, I'm talking shit, looking behind me, talking to the bouncer about my haircut. And when I turn around, the entire bar The entire bar is full. The entire bar is full of people who I didn't even know knew me, didn't even know liked me. One person who was there who my heart melts because she passed away this year, not of COVID, just unexpectedly was there. And it's just like that began our relationship to, oh my God, like they, at a time where I felt like I had no one, to see everyone show up. Everyone show up. Except my co-host from Overqualified and Drunk, but we talked about that on, if you Patreon me, we can talk about that. Excuse me, everyone showed up, and it just, I had the 30th balloons, like I had cupcakes, I had flowers, I had drinks, I had fun, I had dancing and laughter. And I remember it was February 8th that they threw this because it was February 10th that they threw this because February 11th, it slid into February 11th, and I got to play Whitney Houston music on the anniversary of her passing. I felt so warm and so loved, and I held on to those big balloons for a year and a half. I just let them sit. Around my apartment, you can still see little cupcake, the little placard, because I used to say #this is30. Like, that party showed me that people love you, so you need to love you, right? And if it wasn't for friend 3, that experience would have never happened to offset the love and the growth and all the things that I have today. I think I prematurely reached out to that friend. We had a few conversations even after not being invited to being uninvited from their wedding, and it just seemed like that's what had to happen in that moment. But they're open to the relationship, but now they have since moved and is going through life and is now married. That I don't really know how to go back, or if it's worth going back, and if it's not worth going back, I just want to say that person was a branch that was a sturdy one for the time. And something that I'm acknowledging, like, while I want people to be in my life forever, acknowledging that some people are really in your life for a season, and that person was in my life for a season that I needed them. And I wish I could have not been so, if I could own something, I wish I could have not been so engulfed in my depression and stuff, that I could have done a little bit more work to acknowledge when they were trying, instead of saying, I was always so concerned about, because of what happened to friend 1, whenever these friends were with me, I was like, oh, they're probably going to go hang out with that person later. Or how am I fitting in your schedule? Because I know you have such an attachment and alignment to this person who has no care for me, or whatever the case may be. So I was always so insecure about the genuineness behind their connection to me. And while how everything played out, I was not incorrect, and maybe that was a little bit of woman's intuition, I do think I leaned in / self-fulfilled that prophecy, because I think I did so much scarcity communicating, or just I wasn't present. I was too busy concerned about what they had going on before me, after me, and all that shit, that I think I did us a disservice to when they ultimately kind of became what I manifested them to be. But I will always thank her for that party. I will always thank her for her time. I will always cherish our dates in Brooklyn to get food and soup and all that jazz. And like, I love her and her partner, and I want nothing but the best for them. And while I wasn't officially invited to the wedding, I wish them well, and I pray for nothing but peace and love in their relationship. And if our paths are to cross, I will not close the door. And now that leaves me to friend number 4. While I met friend number 4 in tandem to friend number 3, somehow me and friend number 4 got way closer, and I suspect it's because friend number 4 stopped working where I worked, and then like just was able to have some separation between all the drama of my life at the time. / I just think friend 4 was, I feel bad about this one. Friend 4, we fell apart, ironically enough, over friend 3's wedding. We fell apart over that friend tried to come to the aid of friend 3, and what I suspect was like also friend 4 already kind of starting to feel about me, because I was distant, because I was this, because I was that, and it just kind of all came to a head at the same time. Friend 4, I can't even give you too much about it, because it just sucks. And the only thing I can say about friend 4 is that friend 4 means the world to me still. And while I think there was I know exactly what I did. I was on social media talking about people only check in on me when it's bullshit, but when I'm happy, go lucky, living my best life, no views, no likes, no clicks, no nothing. But when a bitch is broken, bitter, got some drama, got some tea, certain people come out of the woodwork. And I put that friend in that category because it felt true. It felt like, unfortunately, it felt like that terrible statement of misery loves company. Like you were my person when I was in disarray, but like it seems like when things were going okay for me, either they weren't going okay for you, or that just wasn't what we bonded on. And I think that's a huge part of friendships, and being able to acknowledge that, hey, we got together at a time in our life when shit sucked, so we love to talk about shit that sucked. Or we got together at a time in our life where I don't necessarily think I need to reach out to you when you're doing good. I am going to be your friend when you're doing bad because I know what it feels like to be bad. And I truly think that's where friend 4 fell. But because I had my visions and my assumptions, I can't predict why or how or foreshadow what that was. But it just rang true to me that when I was having a moment about friend's 3 wedding, friend 4 pops in and is like, what the fuck, what's going on? And I'm just like, you haven't been around to know any of the things that have led up to this. You haven't checked in, you don't ask questions, but now you see a little piece, and that's when we have all this energy and all this conversation. And while I still believe a lot of that is true, and we didn't really get to resolve it because I did what I always do. I actually went back, the day that me and friend 4 had our fight, I went back to Mama's bar and I sat and I cried and I cried and I cried. And I was just talking to my girlfriend. We were freshly dating at the time. And I was just like, look at this. Like, this is somebody who I love. Like, she thinks I'm this monster too. Like, everybody, like, what, or like, I think for me, friend 4, the thing that sucks the most is that I've seen friend 4 give everybody 85 million chances. It seems like everybody gets a do-over or a softer approach or shoulder, and maybe friend 4 thinks friend 4 was doing that to me, and I don't see those slices that they were counting, slice that I would have counted, but in my mind I'm like, this is the one time where I potentially dropped the ball in not communicating, because after we got into this text fight, she called me while I was at the bar, and I was like, I'm at the bar, I need some time, to which I didn't reach out again until August. That had to be April, August. I was like, August, I haven't forgot. But at this point, I'm in a new relationship. I'm free. I'm losing weight. Like, summer was good. Summer loving had me a blast. But she crossed my mind, and I texted her, I was like, I haven't forgotten. And then tragedy struck. Things happened. I had a lot of feelings about how she maneuvered spaces before all of this, and I didn't have a chance to communicate or know how to communicate. And I was also in a very they're out to get me mind space, because I was in an abusive relationship that was kind of feeding to me like, nobody loves you, look at this, why wouldn't she tell you this, why wouldn't she come this, like someone was feeding into the shit of my insecurities, and like they became monsters. But I dropped the ball in the sense that when I went to reach back out, I neglected, just like with friend 1 and 2, that everyone has a threshold, everyone has a timeline. And while I thought that, like, damn, I've seen you give other people other chances, and why do I get held to such a you fucked up once and that's it, fully acknowledging that I probably fucked up 54 times, but this is the only one that I could see because I'm doing the work now. And the last thing we talked about was like, she said she don't hate me, she wishes me well, but there's no, what's the expectation for a friendship now? And she's like, I understand being upset with you, but like, or you being upset with me, but for you to go, I think 6 months without communicating, no friend does that. And I didn't get a chance to really explain why it took 6 months. And she doesn't have to hear it. She doesn't have to want to hear it. She doesn't have to want to make space for me in her life. But we lost somebody dear to both of us. Her probably more painful than me. It was the lady I talked about who came to my party. And the one thing that me and that lady talked about before she passed away was that, like, if this person matters to you, keep trying. And I think I've done that. And I think that COVID and all these things that got in the way, and her also creating her own boundaries and setting them up, and all whatever work she's going through, or whatever time, or what, even if I fucked up, even if it was 110% my fault, I have to accept it, right? But I will, what I learned from that friend is making sure that you communicate as soon as you feel like you notice something, like, hey, you only reach out to me when this, or why do I feel like that, or like, and honestly, how are you? How are you doing? What is going on in your life? Because I think we both went through something very similar at the very same time, and we both were in it, and it is what it is. But she taught me humility, and she taught me to reach out when you're wrong, and she taught me to try if someone is worth it. But she's also teaching me to be okay that while you are healed and ready to work, it's okay if the next person's not, and they deserve the same amount of time, 10 years. They also deserve to say no to what you're offering. I always equate them to the party more than friend 3. I don't know why, but I always equate them as being the one, like whenever I've referenced the party, I was like, and she threw me that party. She threw me that party. She threw me that party that saved my life. So thank you, friend 4, for saving my life. And I am sorry if I failed our friendship. But I wish you well. I want nothing but the best for you as well. Friend number 5. 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 Friend number 5 I've talked about in Home is Where the Hurt Is part 1 and 2. Friend number 5 is someone who I still have not officially spoken to about the failure of our friendship. And friend number 5 is someone that is probably the hardest on this list because of so many nuances in our relationship. What I will say is this person has been the best friend to me that I could have ever asked for at the time that I asked for that friend. This friend has always been dependable based on the things that my standard of the time. This friend has always been supportive and an escape from my hard life when I go home to Cleveland, and uplifting and fun and chill. And the truth of why friend 5 and I fell out, while there was an incident that is small, similar to the floppy disk, and like I don't want to lose this friend because of a 2020 version of an AOL disk. I think at the core of it, similar to how I talked about friends 3 and 4, like you find friends based on circumstance, and we got together because of this. Friend 5 and I were very much friends who shared hobbies of drinking and eating. And we both were so amazing on paper and amazing in our bubbles and amazing at what we do. Like, she's a genius, talented, great, all the things. I think we both had some insecurities / some lack in terms of how we treated ourselves. So therefore, we couldn't really demand much of each other. Like, like I said it on one of my episodes, like if I create a boundary and I break it, I'm opening up for the universe to also break my boundaries. So if I can't even respect them, how can I expect someone else to as well? And I think when I got weight loss surgery, her energy around my weight loss surgery was very indicative of how things are going now. I was like, she couldn't see it because I imagine she's like, fuck, I'm about to lose my fat friend who we fuck it up with, right? She literally said, I can't help you with that. Like, literally, I can't help you with that. But because I'm so scarce and I have lost friends, and like, she's probably my longest standing adult years friend, that I was just like, oh, we have all this history and we've been friends for this long, and not hearing that, hey, you're about to embark on a journey that is going to change your life. And she says she can't help you with that / be supportive about it. So that, coupled with the fact that quality time is my love language, and since we don't live remotely near each other, whenever I see her, I'm just happy to see her because it's filling my love tank. But also every time we see each other, there's something that is like, ooh, you are in fact different, but you're only going to be together for 3 or 4 days, so fuck it. But now I'm a person who, I can't eat the way that me and my friend used to eat. I don't want to drink the way me and my friend used to drink. And now I'm at a place where I can't even be in the same space with people who are really doing the shit that I used to do to my detriment. I always equate it to like, you will never if y'all ever saw New Jack City, it happened. You cannot let an ex-crackhead work in the crack house. So if I'm an ex-fat bitch, I cannot work at Fat Bitches R Us. I can't be at Fat Bitches R Us. I can't wait in the car when you run into Fat Bitches R Us. I can't be a part of it. If I am no longer being Ned the wino, don't drop me off at the world's greatest winery. Like, it's not fair. Don't give me a job there. Don't recommend it. Don't do any of those things. And I think it's taken me so much to figure out how to really acknowledge that and say that, because as someone who's still in my weight loss struggle, it's a struggle. I am currently still fucking up, figuring it out, learning. My edges are finally growing back a little bit because I'm finally taking vitamins more regularly. But as someone who is so very much insecure about my process, and I've already gone through the weight loss surgery, I'm already getting closer to society's norms of a certain size. I know when I was at my decline in my weight and my health, like no one was allowed to talk to me about it. No one was allowed to say, hey, being around you hurts me, or if you don't do this, I can't. So I don't even know how to address that conversation, because I know I wouldn't have wanted to hear it. And it just fucking sucks. It sucks. And and then I think about this podcast, right? Like, let's be fully transparent. I can be so transparent on this podcast because while we're still social media buddies, we still have to have a talk. When I think about my friends 3, 4, 5, specifically, like, they don't support me in my shit, like this shit. Like, granted, friend 4 showed up to an event, rock out. I will never forget that. I'm not gonna try to play you on what you do show up for, but the consistency of, like, I root for your work, I root for your creativity. Like, you guys could have unlocked everything you needed to know about Chloe Beck Friends if you would have listened to Chloe Beck's podcast. And I said it on one of my episodes, like, the same people who I would have taken with me on the private jet when I go get my People's Choice Awards for Insequeer, the book, TV, movie, late night show, wouldn't have been able to even reference a single episode, except friend 4, who conveniently listened to the episode where me and my podcast friend broke up, right? Like, so it's on top of that, it's just that, like, I'm in a season where I need my friends to root for me in a way that I need. I need to know that my friends got my back. I need to know that my friends are hyping me up, letting me twerk with no ass. Like, I need friends who will get on the ground and take a fire picture, because that's the kind of friend that I am now. But, like, I have created and met all these friends in different stages of my growth. And what they don't tell you about growing pains is that it hurts. And none of these people, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, I think I can tell you all the things that I did wrong with every single one of them and how they deserve to not ever want to speak to me again. And that's also okay, because there's this thing called both and. We both fucked up. It takes 2 to fucking fail a friendship, right? So I'm not going to sit here and say they, I, and I have to accept, like, there's some that I want back. And they're like, well, now I don't want you back. So, like, 2 sunken ships in the night. But I'm at a place where, like, maybe it's okay to say thank you. Thank you for who you were. Thank you for what you did. I don't even want to excommunicate. Like, there are some things that, like, from time to time I want to share with you. Like, if something happened to my mom, the only person I can think to call is friend 5, right? Anything. Like, there are so many life things where, like, these people were key, but I also have to be okay with knowing that it's not fair to pop in and out if we're not all or nothing. And I think in a lot of these situations, we were all, well, I assumed they were all, but they weren't. And in the times where I really thought they were all, they were like, well, now you're nothing. So I have to be able to kind of compute that in my brain. And I say that to say, I've had a lot of conversations with people in their 30s who, apparently 30s is where you have to do this. You have to cut ties, let it go, start anew, own your shit, come prepared with boundaries, ask the questions up front. Like, the same way you go on a date. Hey, you got a passport? Hey, you got a wife? Hey, does she know she's not your wife? Is there any bitch who want to fight me because I'm sitting here with you? Is there anybody who I could potentially be sitting on Maury defending you and the lie detector test determine? The same way you have to go, hey, do you have the HIV and AIDS virus? Hey, how do you feel about masks or vaccines or climate control or saving the turtles? Like, things that matter to you. You cannot hide them, especially from people who you will call your friends. If you are a person who is non-binary and you have a friend who continues to call you she, oh, well, you was a she when we met. Well, bitch, I am they now. So you have to let them know who you are. And I don't know how to go back and say, I know you met me at here, but I am here. And if you can't meet me here, then this was so great. I appreciated this. And it don't even got to be this, because some people are like, oh, you think you better. We've met here. Now we're meeting over here, whatever the analogy needs to be. And for those of you who are listening, I did a whole bunch of hand shit. I highly recommend you go watch this on YouTube. But I'm just saying, like, you guys can be on any part of your spectrum or your journey, but it's okay if somebody has to take a left or the road less traveled. And those are my 5 failed friendships. And while I hope you're not slighted if I didn't mention you and you think we failed one another. So if that's the case, DM me, message me, give me an op-ed. But friendships, goodwill towards men, this is a time of year where friendsgivings and friendsmas and all those things happen. And what I can say is that, and I think you all know it to be true, friends and family can hurt you so much more. So sometimes it's better to do a clean break than just drag a severed leg, right? Just being honest about that and knowing that there's nothing wrong with saying, like friend 4 told me, like, I've had enough. I love you, I adore you, but I've had enough. Or I love you, I adore you, so allow me to reintroduce myself. My name is Chloe Beck, and these are the things that I need from a friend. Can you? And if they can't, it's just like a job interview. We've decided to go with another candidate. The pool was I keep getting these, so the pool was so expansive and we appreciate you, but we've decided to go elsewhere. And what I will say, I've gone nowhere. I am still here, still friend challenged, still working through friends versus foes versus Foley friends or friends of convenience or friends of circumstance. But I look forward to the day where it's a fresh face, a fresh new person, so I can practice telling my truth and owning and admitting and letting you know what I can bring. Because on the flip side of that, while you have these conversations about your list of demands, your friends might have a list of demands and you got to be prepared to rise. So just because they meet your 10 things, if you know you're not going to meet 2, don't be selfish. Friendships and relationships are like a bank account. A lot of people think it's like unlimited funds in all these accounts, but if you're continuously withdrawing from your friends, that could be physical money, that could be listening ear, that could be only reaching out when something's wrong. If you're constantly, eventually, baby, that card is going to swipe insufficient funds. You have to put money back in. You have to pick up the phone. You have to communicate. You have to say sorry. You have to answer a text. You have to listen, even when all you want to do is be heard. So I've depleted a lot of my accounts. I think a lot of accounts are now in the negative with me, but I'm looking forward to a joint account with my next group of friends. So speaking of joint accounts, I'm gonna say it every time, 'tis the season to spend frugally. 'Tis the season not to spend like you're crazy. And if you gotta buy your friends, you can do that by joining any Greek letter organization, girl. You ain't gotta pay for nobody's trip, nobody's car, hopefully you're not paying for anything because we're in the middle of a pandemic. And please, I am not an anti-vaxxer. I cannot say I'm pro this vaccine. I can just tell you that when I am given the opportunity, am going to take it, because that's one shot that I would like to volunteer for, not the many shots that you might receive as a black, brown, trans, queer body from the police. Alrighty, that friendship has also failed. I dare you to tell me different. As always, love each other, love yourself. Really sit down with your friendships, what you want, what you don't want. And there's nothing wrong to do a friendship check-in. And don't get yourself caught up in, just we've been friends for so long. A lot of times, a lot of us, all we have is the time that we've had, not where we're going. So I was nostalgic about this. I'm nostalgic about them. I own my faults. I hope they own theirs. And if they don't, that's between them and their next set of friends. I'm off the Titanic and I'm on to bigger and better ships. I don't have one in queue because COVID. There are no ships right now. All right, y'all. I'm out. Bye.